cover two corner. Congratulations, right? So your job is to get the ball back. The first guy that can influence the play is obviously 44 here. I think this is good, right? I read screen, I'm coming flat down the line with my hair on fire. Right? The challenge for that guy is to take the extra step. Prime talks about it all the time. You don't want this, right, in the open field. So we are whizzing by. They should feel you, and you should end up 5 yards deep on the track. Right? Then it goes to 41 here. Right? Here's our force player. Here's our point player. Dre had great presentation yesterday on block destruction, how we get off blocks, right? So I'm taking
J Mac from Syracuse, New York, man, came all the way out to see my Colorado Buffs.
What channel do you watch? They brought you out here.
The pregame show.
Never watched the college game till last season when Coach Prime came to Colorado. And I am in Colorado at Folsom Field. I am the Colorado Buffaloes auntie from Texas. Sweet treat.
Hey, I've been following the pregame show. It's all about let's go Buffs.
Away from Texas, yes sir. Watch you every single day. Nobody lays it down like Uncle Neely and the pregame show.
Neely, pregame show behind the scenes of everything. And why does he get that kind of access? Why does he get that kind of access? Because trust is involved. You would never get the kind of access you desire unless there's trust and relationship. Trying to put you up on game.
So sitting down with Coach Rob Livingston, defensive coordinator. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So first question, I got to ask you the cookie cutter question. Spring ball just ended. What is your assessment of the defense? How are things looking throughout the spring period?
Yeah, I'm excited with the growth. Obviously, a bunch of new faces and new places. So it's our job as coaches to kind of evaluate first part of it, see what they can do, what they can't do, and really excited for the leadership piece. Obviously, last year being senior-led, with Travis and Cam and Shiloh and Bentley and all those guys up front, excited to see what the leadership of this team looks like this year, with the voice, how it looks, and that was a huge part of spring. So excited for where we are. Obviously, training camp is right around the corner and kind of chomping at the bit to get going.
So that's the next question I was going to ask you. Are there any guys that are sort of stepping up to you that you think will be the next vocal leaders for the defense?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about it in the past. Arden Walker is a guy that has come in, done a great job. First real off-season since I've been here. Last year he had a hand issue and then another hand issue and really didn't get rolling until probably that second or third game in terms of getting his feet under him. So I'm excited to see that. Obviously, this place means a lot to him with his dad playing here and the connections that he has. So I'm excited for that. We've added some new linebackers. We'll see kind of how that plays out in terms of leadership and what that looks like. And then on the back end, Carter Stoppmeyer is a guy that I've talked about, at length in terms of playing a variety of roles for us in the past. So I'm excited to see him and DJ McKinney, kind of the silent assassin. It's always hard for those corners to have a true kind of vocal leadership, but what he can do is very similar to what Travis did in that, hey, my play shows that I'm a leader. So it comes in all varieties, shapes, and sizes. Not everybody's got to be the rah-rah hype speech guy. Yeah. Some people can just get their job done and the way they carry themselves. I think you can clearly define culture when your best player or players are your hardest workers. And that's what, obviously, Coach Swayze in the weight room, that'll be the big rallying cry in the summer, and we'll go to camp ready to go.
So I'm curious what your assessment is of the newcomers that we got on the defense. I want to start with the freshmen. Obviously, Coach Prime has been very vocal of how much potential he sees in T.J. Branch. Yeah. And then just having conversations with Montrez, I know that he's a guy that's eager to learn. So I'm curious what your assessment is of the freshmen that we got on the defense this year.
Yeah, I think both of them, it starts with the look in their eye, right? You can tell the game means a lot to them. You kind of got to remind yourself, like, hey, this dude, he's probably getting ready to go to prom if he's not already enrolled. So it can happen fast. It's a testament to them getting here early to give themselves a chance. TJ has shown both in the spring game and in the practices more privately that he's got phenomenal range in the middle of the field, and he's a more than willing tackler. So I'm excited to work with him and kind of see exactly what he can be. And then Montrez, stepping into a linebacker room as a young kid that's a tough thing to do. But he's up here all the time. He wants to be great. He's vocal. The game means a lot to him. So we can figure the rest out as long as the game means something to you.
So I'm curious what your assessment is of now the transfer guys. We had a pretty big defensive transfer class. So I'm curious, what was your assessment? Who are some guys that really stood out to you as far as the transfers that came in for defense?
Yeah, I mean, up front, obviously Jaheim Otis is about as big as that door. One of the world's largest men. So, look forward to see what he can do. The linebacker room, obviously, we added 2 there with French and then Hughes. Again, being a linebacker, walking into a new city, new defense, new checks, I think it's hard to really be yourself. Until you kind of go through a spring. I think it's one thing to, be somewhere for 3 years or 2 years, as some of those guys were. It's another thing to kind of have skins on the wall. So I think the confidence, the look in their eye will be really high once we come back, because now they're comfortable. And it's our job as coaches to put those guys in positions to be successful. And then on the back end, Mr. Byard has come in, and Tawfiq is, he's had good days and bad days like all new players, but I'm really excited for him. His intellect, he's great in the room. I think, again, he's a young player. Taking it from the classroom to the grass can be the hard part. So the more reps he gets, the better. I think Nick Scott told me something a long time ago, playing that safety position, playing linebacker, you really can't teach somebody how to do it. You got to go do it, right? Yeah. You can't teach somebody how to play basketball. You got to have hundreds of thousands of hours, as we watch these playoffs and these guys are putting on these performances. Yeah. They got to play. They got to play with their teammates. They got to do all that stuff. And I think that's the rallying cry for us as a staff, is to put the guys that are going to be out there together, so they can play off each other and they can communicate and they can kind of, have that sixth sense of where their buddy's going to be.
So draft weekend just ended, and every guy who was on your defense last year made it to the NFL in some way. So I think that's a huge testament to you, as you can now say you were an integral part of Coach Prime's first substantial draft class. So what does it mean to you to see the guys that were once under your wing now flourishing, making it big to the NFL?
Yeah, it's a little bit like a proud parent, I think. Somebody asked me the difference in pro day for me this year versus in the years past. This year I was probably more nervous for those guys than they were. So it's a culmination of a long process. I mean, these guys have probably dreamed about doing this since they were 6, 7, 8 years old. So just so excited for them. Opportunities come in a variety of ways. We had guys in Cincinnati who were rookie tryout guys, and you look up and they're 6 or 7 years in the league. We had college free agents who made it. So it happens every year, and I'm just excited for their journey. Not every place is right for every person, so it might not be the last stop. But for them just to make the most of it. And they've done so much for me, coming in here, embracing me, embracing the culture that we built. That group of people, hopefully 20 years from now will still be connected, because they mean the world to me.
So on the Pregame Network, we have a show called The Whistle, where Coach Pollock and Coach Hart are the stars. And last week we did an episode, and Coach Pollock was telling us about when he's looking into the transfer portal, he's looking for guys who have experience and guys who he knows can plug in and play right away. So with you, as you're on a much larger scale, as far as you're controlling the entire defense, what are some things that you are looking for when you are dipping into the transfer portal? Yeah,
I think it looks different by position. Yes, you'd love to get an all-conference player who's an All-American who wants to come here and is a plug-and-play. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen all the time, which is a good thing in this climate of college football. If they're having success, they should stay where they are. But they're looking for a second chance. And I think at some point, everybody in their life has looked for a second chance. So the big thing to me is obviously the tape, the evaluation, what they can do, what they can't do, how they fit us. But what I enjoy is getting to know them. Because, again, as we talked about before, not every person is right for every place, and not every place is right for every person. So to look them in the eyeballs, see what's behind there. When times get tough, who are they going to be? I get it. It's speed dating. They're here for a day. I'm sure they're programmed of what I should say and what I shouldn't say. But just the relationships. And, this is a special place. And obviously Coach Prime has done a phenomenal job of bringing in people that yes, they're great players, but they're great people. The culture here is something that's really, really special. So you don't want to add a bad apple to something when you got a good thing going. So the guys that we add, we go through a very, very tedious, long process of kind of vetting them, getting to know them. Can't say enough about the recruiting department. Corey, Box, those guys do a phenomenal job So the table's pretty much laid by the time they walk in here, and they'll walk in, we'll have a conversation, and we'll kind of get a better feel for each other when they leave.
So last question here. Spring's over. Fall is still a bit of ways away.
Yeah.
What's next for Coach Livingston and the Colorado defense?
What's next? For me personally, it's a little bit of dad time.
Okay.
We got baseball, flag football, gymnastics, all this stuff. Obviously, spring in Boulder, there's probably not much better. So I'm excited to kind of immerse myself in the community here and do all the Colorado things. For the players, they get some time off. They'll come back. The end of the month, end of May, early June, they'll have some classes. They'll lift. We'll have camps, which is a great evaluation process. Guys on the staff, they'll hit the road. They'll do the high school recruiting. And then I'll try to get ready for our first 3 games. So obviously, year to year, people change. But to look at not only what we have, but what we're going to play and put things that are going to be applicable for those first 3 games. Have a plan in place, so it's not the first time they're hearing it, a week before the game. We can go through those things, and it's a tough start for us. Obviously, Georgia Tech is the first one out the gate, and they're as dynamic on offense as anybody in college football. So excited for that challenge. Excited to see kind of who we're going to be this year. Probably still add some pieces here, and once June comes, we got to get ready to go.
Cool. That's it. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, bub.
Where y'all from?
We up from Miami, Florida.
All the way from Miami.
All the way from Miami.
Appreciate y'all coming, man.
Hey, man, we love what you guys are doing, man. We want to support you in every way.
Appreciate your family.
And we're recruiting at home. Everything we see at home, we bring it this way.
My man.
You gotta believe. Dude, we've been believing since day one,
That's
dog.
why I gave them to
Remember
you.
back in Jackson State? We've been believing with you in the pregame show.